sometimes in a game when you get hit, you might want the image of your player to change, or when an enemy dies, you might want the image of the enemy to change. So I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. Here I've got my pie. I'm going to make a dead pie image. I'm in my photo editor, which is paint.net, which you can download in Windows, or you could use whatever photo editor you want. The important thing is that you take whatever your image is and you change it to look the way that you want it to look for whatever it is that you want to do in your game. So for mine, I'm going to, what was I going to do? All right, so for mine, I'm going to make it sepia, or you could make it black and white. It looks like more or less the same thing in this case. And now I'm going to save a new version of this. So this is called Dead Pie. And the important thing is that the image of your regular player and the replacement image are more or less the same size, because otherwise it's going to look really distracting when your image gets replaced by something that's much larger or much smaller or very different. So here's my game code so far. I've got this image of a pie that's moving around, and I just added code so that when my mouse is inside the pie, it's going to display hit here in the console. So you can see I'm hitting the pie, I'm not hitting the pie, I'm hitting the pie. All right, so here's the statement there. I calculate the distance between my mouse and the pie. And this is a command that I wrote. This is not built in. And then I say if the distance is less than the radius of the pie, then I'll say that I'm hitting the pie. Okay, so what I really want to do is, here is where I want to switch the pie image to be different. So the first thing we have to do is actually get the new pie image into our program, the same way that we did before. So let's find the pie image. Here it is, dead pie. And I'm going to copy it. And then here I'm going to paste it inside my program. So I've got pie and dead pie. Now I'm going to create a separate p image for it. And then I'm going to actually load the image inside setup. So all of this is the same as last time. Okay, so all of that is the same as last time. And you probably want to make sure that the image loading and everything worked correctly. So I'm going to display my new image just as a test to make sure that it's going to work. Okay, great. So I see the kind of sepia toned one. Okay, so let's go back to the original. So here's what you might be tempted to do. You might be tempted to take the command that displays your image and then just put that inside here with the new image. So here I'm saying display the pie image, but now if the mouse is inside the image, then display a new image, which is the dead version. This will actually sort of work for the way that I've programmed this particular game. So you can see, but you can see it's like a little bit off. You can still see the old pie kind of in the background. And depending on details of how your game works, this might actually just not work at all or look quite different. So this is not the way that I recommend doing it. Instead, what I recommend is that we have these be our kind of images that are waiting to be loaded, but we're going to have active pie. So this is going to be a new p image that represents whatever our current image for the pie is. So once I've loaded my pie and my dead pie, I'm going to set the active pie image to be equal to the live pie. And I've got to do that sort of at the very bottom of setup here after I've loaded both pie images. And then when I actually draw my pie, I want to draw it with whatever the active pie image is. So then if I want to change what the pie looks like, all I have to do is save a new image inside the active pie variable. And the active pie is whatever will get displayed here. So here I'm saying if I am inside the circle, then I want my active pie to become the dead one. Otherwise, I want my active pie to be set back to the regular one. So here I'm going to change which image is actually inside the active pie variable depending on where my mouse is. So now when I run it, you see that as soon as I mouse over it, it changes images. And you could make the new image not just be a recoloration of the old one, you could make it look like whatever you want. And obviously, you don't have to change it when the mouse is inside. You could change it at whatever time you want. Like you could have any if statement you wanted, like when the player gets hit, when time runs out, kind of whatever you want to do. I hope that this has been helpful.